In the heart of the Galactic Empire, alien civilizations had reached a zenith of technological prowess. Their armies were sleek, efficient, and battle-hardened, outfitted with weapons that could disintegrate enemy forces from kilometers away, combat drones that responded to threats in microseconds, and armor that could withstand the harshest planetary conditions. Warfare, to them, was a polished science, one of precision and perfect coordination. They had long abandoned anything resembling close combat or survival in the wild. In their view, those methods were crude, inefficient, and unnecessary relics of a primitive past. And so, as Earth emerged onto the galactic stage, its tactics were not just met with skepticism, they were outright ridiculed. Earth was a young, unremarkable planet in their eyes, its people limited by what the alien generals considered archaic methods. To the Galactic High Council, humans were a fledgling species, barely scraping the edges of interstellar travel and relying on tactics that were, to the rest of the galaxy, bafflingly primitive. The idea that Earth's soldiers trained in forests, deserts, and jungles, places teeming with unpredictable, messy life, was a subject of open mockery. After all, why rely on muscle and grit when machines could do everything faster and cleaner? The council chambers echoed with laughter whenever Earth's military strategies were discussed. Jungle warfare? They sneered at the concept. How could any species expect to compete on a galactic scale by hiding in the trees, crawling through mud, or relying on wildlife knowledge? Such notions were absurd to the council, whose every tactic involved sterilized, digitized precision. Leading the chorus of scorn was General Threx, one of the most decorated officers in the Empire and a seasoned tactician. Threx epitomized everything the galaxy believed about Earth's limitations. In his eyes, humans were a curious, but ultimately laughable species, still clinging to their dense foliage and hostile deserts, as if such things held any value. His speeches were filled with sharp, dismissive remarks about Earth's lack of sophistication. He would scoff at the images of Earth soldiers blending into jungle shadows, masked in mud and leaves, slipping through dense underbrush. They fight like animals, he'd sneer, shaking his head at their unrefined ways, and we will crush them as one crushes an insect underfoot. His words weren't merely insults. They shaped the alien force's perception, turning Earth's soldiers into something of a joke. Many of the younger officers saw any engagement with Earth as a training exercise at best, an easy skirmish for experience points, if anything. For months, the ridicule continued. The Galactic High Council held demonstration after demonstration of their military strength, showcasing their most advanced weapons and strategists in grand parades and maneuvers. Each showcase was designed to underscore their message to Earth. Your methods are obsolete. To Earth soldiers, they boasted openly that even a single squadron of their drones could wipe out a regiment of humans in a matter of minutes. This wasn't just propaganda. The alien leaders genuinely believed it. They saw Earth's reliance on wilderness tactics as a sign of ignorance, as though humans hadn't yet realized they could simply eliminate the environment rather than adapt to it. But Earth's leaders, watching this display from afar, didn't respond with grand proclamations or boasts. Instead, they prepared quietly, with a calm determination that their alien counterparts mistook for cowardice. There was no bluster, no rebuttal to the taunts, only the calculated steps of a military machine as it made its final preparations. Earth's top military commanders, veterans of some of the toughest conflicts on their home planet, saw something the aliens couldn't: an opportunity. While the galactic powers were enamored with their tech, Earth's forces knew the value of something far more powerful: the human spirit, the resilience forged by struggle, and the primal knowledge of surviving hostile environments. In response to the challenge, Earth assembled a unit unlike any other: the Special Forces, an elite group trained in every conceivable type of wilderness warfare. These soldiers had mastered the art of moving silently through jungles, of navigating the unforgiving heat of deserts, and of scaling mountains in the dead of night. They knew how to make the environment their ally, to blend into shadows, and to strike without warning. Unlike the alien forces, they didn't rely solely on technology. Their strength came from discipline, knowledge, and an instinct for survival honed over centuries of human conflict. These weren't just soldiers. They were warriors bred from a world where survival against the odds was not a choice, but a necessity. The commanders selected for this mission were veterans with a deep understanding of Earth's natural environments, leaders who had refined their skills in jungles that swallowed armies whole and deserts that punished the weak. They were chosen not only for their physical prowess, but for their ability to think like hunters. Each soldier carried with them the legacy of human endurance, and behind their tactical precision was the belief that their skills would, once again, prove essential. These were soldiers who had survived in environments that didn't forgive mistakes, places that demanded respect for every step taken, every leaf brushed, every branch bent. Their objective was simple yet profound: to demonstrate that Earth's primitive skills were not only effective, but unmatched in their potency. These special forces didn't just enter battles. They became part of the environment itself, dissolving into the shadows, moving in perfect silence, striking without a trace. Their task was to show the galaxy that technology alone was not the ultimate weapon, that there was power in adaptability, in understanding the rhythm of the land, in moving with it rather than against it. They would prove that Earth's tactics weren't a matter of limitation, but of choice, a testament to the adaptability and tenacity of humanity. With the mission set, Earth's soldiers were dispatched to the designated jungle planet. They moved without fanfare, arriving in silence, their presence marked only by the slight shift in the leaves and the whisper of their footsteps on the damp soil. For the alien forces, the arrival of Earth's special forces was a mere formality, a group of under-equipped, archaic warriors doomed to fail. To the humans, it was a chance to reveal the strength of a deeply ingrained survival instinct, one the Galactic Armies had long since forgotten. As Earth's soldiers disappeared into the dense wilderness, their figures swallowed by the shadows, they carried with them a fierce resolve. They were there to demonstrate, not to brag or prove points with words, but to let their actions speak louder than any boastful claims. This was more than just a mission. It was a challenge, one they accepted not with the arrogance of a conqueror, but with the quiet confidence of a force that understood the land in ways no alien could. In that silent departure, Earth's special forces became invisible warriors, moving with a purpose and unity that no alien drone or scanner could detect. And as they prepared to meet the Galactic Armies, the jungle itself seemed to come alive, as if recognizing old friends returning home. This was no mere battle for survival. It was a confrontation of ideologies, of what it meant to be truly powerful. The jungle planet was unlike anything the alien soldiers had ever encountered, sprawling, untamed, and alive in ways they couldn't fully comprehend. It was both familiar in its resemblance to Earth's wilderness and utterly alien in its hostility. Thick canopies blotted out sunlight, leaving only fragmented beams of light that barely pierced the dense layers of foliage. Every inch of the ground was layered in wet, decaying leaves, masking sinkholes and sudden drops, while twisted roots created a labyrinthine network that made even basic movement a grueling task. The air was thick, almost suffocating, and carried a constant, pungent scent of vegetation and the damp undergrowth that clung to every surface. As the alien forces set foot on the planet, they quickly realized their high-tech scanners struggled to get accurate readings through the dense biomass. Their suits, engineered for sleek urban environments or open battlefields, felt heavy and awkward in the sticky jungle air. Each movement stirred clouds of strange, iridescent insects that clung to their exposed armor, jamming gears and rendering some of their instruments useless. The alien soldiers' discomfort was immediate and only grew with each step. High-tech equipment that allowed perfect vision on most planets became erratic here. The thick humidity fogged their helmet screens, and foliage distorted thermal readings, making it nearly impossible to pinpoint life forms in the vicinity. Soon, it became clear that they were strangers in a world not designed for them. They had expected another battlefield to conquer, but here every leaf, every branch seemed intent on swallowing them whole. Trees stretched endlessly overhead, their leaves broad and thick, weaving a ceiling so dense it seemed like a barrier against the sky itself. Massive, dripping vines hung like silent predators, curling around the alien soldiers' legs, pulling at their equipment, and ensnaring their weapons. Every few steps, they found themselves swatting at monstrous insects, creatures with razor-sharp mandibles that bit through their suits. Even the ground beneath them shifted treacherously, the damp soil sometimes giving way into unexpected pits or becoming so waterlogged that even a single misstep could send them slipping and sinking. The constant rain added to their misery, beating down relentlessly in stinging sheets. Water seeped through the cracks in their armor, short-circuiting some of their advanced weaponry. The alien soldiers weren't accustomed to fighting in places where nature itself was the enemy. They had trained for smooth operations and rapid strikes, not a war of attrition against a landscape that seemed intent on erasing their every trace. Their movements became sluggish as exhaustion set in, and they grew frustrated as their once reliable tools failed them. The dampness crept into everything. Rifles malfunctioned, drones lost control, and visibility dropped to mere meters in the misty haze that clung to the forest floor. Every move became a battle, not against a visible enemy, but against the jungle itself. Yet, hidden within this same wilderness, Earth's special forces moved with ease and confidence. Unlike the alien soldiers who stood out starkly in their high-tech suits, the humans blended seamlessly into their surroundings. Covered in mud and local foliage, their uniforms were adapted to the jungle's every nuance. Their movements were slow, deliberate, each step placed with a knowledge born from years of experience in similar terrain. They used the sounds of the jungle, bird calls, rustling leaves, the distant thrum of insects, to mask their own movements, slipping silently between trees and undergrowth, completely invisible to the aliens' technology. The humans' first offensive was precise and silent. A few alien scouts, wandering too far from the main group, vanished without a trace, their screams muffled by the dense foliage. For the alien soldiers, this sudden loss was unsettling. They were used to frontal assaults and clean battles, not a foe that struck from the shadows and then vanished without a sound. When they finally found evidence of the missing scouts, it was just a few scattered pieces of armor and broken equipment, lying silently in the mud. Panic rippled through the ranks. The jungle seemed to close in tighter, its shadows darker, and every rustle a potential threat. Their tightly disciplined formations began to fray as the alien soldiers, unnerved, tried to cover more ground, desperately seeking visibility in a place where sight meant nothing. Earth's soldiers exploited the aliens' fear perfectly, using the jungle as both shield and weapon. They would strike from unexpected angles, sometimes dropping silently from the trees, other times emerging from patches of thick undergrowth, only to melt back into the shadows the moment they were spotted. Camouflaged to perfection, they were indistinguishable from their surroundings. They became specters, wraiths who seemed to know every twist and turn of the jungle by heart, appearing only long enough to strike, and then vanishing again, leaving no trace but the bodies of their enemies. With each encounter, the aliens' desperation grew. They fired wildly into the foliage, hoping to hit targets they couldn't even see, but the jungle absorbed their laser fire, leaving them more exposed with every futile attempt. Human soldiers had no need for direct confrontation. They waged a war of attrition, choosing their moments with lethal patience. Their tactics were rooted in guerrilla warfare, honed over generations on Earth, and they were masters at using every feature of the land to their advantage. They would force the aliens into natural traps, luring them into mud pits, funneling them toward clusters of thorn plants, or setting up ambushes near thick patches of vines that entangled the panicked soldiers, rendering their advanced suits useless. The aliens grew visibly shaken, their confidence shattered by an enemy they couldn't locate or understand. Every attempt to regroup was met with yet another ambush, and every pathway they tried led to dead ends or worse, pits of quicksand that devoured soldiers whole. Their once-ordered formations dissolved into chaos as they struggled to escape the invisible force that seemed to hunt them with chilling precision. This wasn't the type of enemy they were used to. Earth's special forces didn't rely on overwhelming firepower or high-tech gadgets. They relied on adaptability, patience, and an intimate understanding of the land around them. Their every strike was calculated to maximize the aliens' confusion and fear, to exhaust them until even the strongest among them were weary. The jungle, which had been such a hindrance to the aliens, was an ally to the humans. They navigated it with the ease of seasoned hunters, using natural sounds and cover to move undetected. Alien drones, designed for wide-open terrains and urban landscapes, failed to navigate the canopy, often colliding with branches and falling uselessly to the ground. Every piece of technology the aliens depended upon faltered here, while every ounce of human experience thrived. As the hours dragged on, what had started as a simple mission for the aliens turned into a nightmare. Communication lines broke down as the dense canopy interfered with signals, and soldiers found themselves isolated in groups, cut off from central command. With their visibility reduced to a few meters in any direction, each alien soldier was painfully aware of how exposed they were. Their every move, every sound seemed amplified in the silence, and they became haunted by the thought of unseen eyes tracking them. The humans, for their part, remained silent, disciplined, and precise. They didn't waste time or energy. Every attack was purposeful, every strike perfectly timed. The aliens could do nothing but stumble through the unfamiliar terrain, each of them carrying the growing weight of dread as the humans picked off their ranks one by one. What had begun as an easy operation had become a massacre, a testament to the humans' mastery of jungle warfare. In the end, the aliens realized they were not fighting a mere army. They were up against the jungle itself, wielded by warriors who had learned to be one with the land. The special forces moved through the jungle as if they were part of it, navigating silently, keenly aware of every sound and shift in the undergrowth. Their years of training in survival and guerrilla tactics allowed them to turn the alien landscape into an ally. They used the jungle's raw and unpredictable nature to its fullest advantage, transforming hazards into traps that caught their enemies off guard at every turn. They worked in small, coordinated teams, each soldier attuned to both the terrain and the tactics of their comrades, crafting a perfectly honed machine of survival and adaptation. The first traps were simple but devastating. They set tripwires made from jungle vines, twisted and hidden beneath thick layers of foliage, leading to branches weighed down with stones or sharpened sticks. When alien soldiers tripped the wires, the traps sprung silently, sending their deadly payloads crashing down. To the untrained eye, these seemed like random mishaps in the jungle's dangerous terrain. But as the aliens' casualties grew, their commanders began to understand that these accidents were calculated attacks, each one meticulously placed in areas where soldiers were likely to stray. Humans took the natural threats the aliens struggled with and amplified them. Quicksand pits, barely visible beneath a thin layer of leaves and water, became silent graves for unsuspecting alien soldiers. Poisonous plants, with leaves that left rashes and toxins on the skin, were used to create discomfort and even confusion among the ranks. Earth's soldiers had learned to recognize these plants and knew how to avoid them, but they watched from a distance as aliens stumbled right into them, swiping carelessly at the itchy foliage that left blisters spreading across exposed skin. Every discomfort became a small but critical edge in favor of Earth's forces, as the alien soldiers grew wearier, their morale waning with every sting and rash that their high-tech suits couldn't protect against. The special forces didn't stop at using the jungle's natural defenses. They crafted weapons from the environment itself. Using sharpened stones, they created caltrops and scattered them in thick underbrush, waiting for aliens to step on them as they trudged forward. Every inch of the jungle became a threat, turning the terrain itself into a formidable enemy. For camouflage, the humans coated themselves in mud and local plant juices, blending even further into the scenery. Each soldier moved invisibly, draped in the jungle's colors and textures, virtually undetectable by sight or thermal imaging. In the dark green twilight under the trees, they could stand just meters from an alien soldier and remain entirely unseen. The aliens' advanced technology, which had seemed so formidable, was failing them utterly. Thermal sensors were blinded by the thick foliage and fluctuating temperatures. Sound detectors were overwhelmed by the constant noises of jungle life, and even their communications systems suffered interference. Alien commanders, who'd once boasted of their tactical superiority, were now paralyzed with indecision. Orders to regroup or advance were met with confusion as they watched their soldiers vanish in ones and twos, plucked away by unseen enemies. When scouts were sent ahead, they seldom returned. If they did, they were shaken, barely able to report anything useful other than vague warnings about invisible forces. The alien ranks began to break down, their formation frayed by the endless, gnawing tension. The paranoia spread quickly. Alien soldiers began to see enemies in every shadow, firing wildly into the trees at imagined figures and wasting precious ammunition. Their initial discipline was gone, replaced by a desperate need to protect themselves from an unseen threat. Every rustling leaf became a source of dread. Commanders tried to reinstate order, but even their authority weakened as alien troops, who'd once been fearless, became frantic. The jungle was no longer a battleground. It was a maze of unseen horrors, and no amount of technology could shield them from its terrors. In one of the most intense encounters, an entire alien battalion moved cautiously along a narrow path flanked by thick underbrush. They advanced slowly, nervously scanning the area, weapons raised. At first, the path seemed clear, but as they reached the midpoint, a series of snaps echoed through the jungle as Earth's soldiers struck in perfect unison. The alien soldiers were thrown into disarray as camouflaged soldiers emerged from the shadows, striking with precision. Some used handmade weapons, a testament to their resourcefulness, while others wielded silenced firearms that reduced the battleground to a whisper of lethal force. Earth's special forces used the aliens' confusion to full advantage, moving as a coordinated unit. One squad approached from the left, throwing small explosives that created thick clouds of smoke, disorienting the aliens further. Another group slipped through the trees on the right, picking off targets with silent, deadly efficiency. Caught in the crossfire, alien soldiers panicked, firing blindly in all directions, their formations collapsing as they fell victim to coordinated human strikes. The alien commander in charge of the battalion tried desperately to issue orders, his voice lost in the chaos. He couldn't see his attackers. All he could do was hear his soldiers' cries and the muffled thuds as more of them went down. His advanced helmet display, meant to provide strategic insight and battlefield awareness, showed nothing useful, just static-laden feeds as the jungle's humidity and plant life interfered with their once precise technology. He stumbled, realizing that the jungle was stripping away every advantage they'd brought with them. His desperation turned to horror as he glimpsed a human soldier, a flash of mud-streaked camouflage and cold, calculating eyes, who disappeared back into the foliage as quickly as they had come. This was unlike anything he'd faced before. His battalion, who'd once been known for its cohesion and discipline, was now in complete disarray, scattered across the jungle in panic fragments. The commander's confidence shattered as he realized that they were no longer the hunters, they were the hunted. Throughout this skirmish, Earth's forces maintained flawless teamwork. They communicated through hand signals and silent gestures, each soldier attuned to the movements and needs of their squad. Their plan was simple yet brilliantly effective. Keep the aliens off balance, exhaust their resources, and strike with precision. The jungle wasn't just their battleground. It was their weapon, an extension of their training and resilience. Every shadow, every vine, and every sound was part of their strategy. As the ambush concluded, the alien survivors gathered in stunned silence, a mere fraction of their original number. They stared into the dense jungle around them, dreading the next move from an enemy they still couldn't fully understand. The humans hadn't just fought them. They'd orchestrated a relentless psychological assault that had left the alien soldiers on the brink of collapse. It wasn't just the physical danger that haunted them. It was the realization that they were utterly outmatched in a way they couldn't counter with technology. In the silence following the ambush, Earth's special forces retreated, leaving no trace, as if they'd been mere phantoms of the jungle. The alien commander, shaken and disoriented, stood surrounded by the fallen, his remaining soldiers' eyes wide with fear. Every attempt to reach his superiors only resulted in broken, static-laden transmissions. He could only imagine what his superiors might say if they knew, if they truly understood, the devastation wrought upon their supposedly advanced forces by a planet's so-called primitive soldiers. For the humans, this was more than just a successful mission. It was proof of their resilience, adaptability, and strength. They didn't rely on technology alone, but on the skills and instinct bred from countless generations who had learned to survive hostile environments. And in the face of an enemy that had once mocked their tactics, Earth's soldiers had proven beyond a doubt that the human spirit, combined with raw survival skills, was a force to be reckoned with. The alien army had faced the wild for the first time, and in doing so, they'd learned a harsh truth. Earth's wilderness training was no relic. It was a weapon that no technology could fully overcome. The alien command, growing increasingly desperate, regrouped and refined their strategy. Realizing that brute force alone would not defeat Earth's special forces, the alien generals authorized advanced tactical changes, deploying new types of surveillance drones equipped with adaptive thermal imaging, high-frequency sound detectors, and hovering robotic sentries. These machines, hovering just above the treetops, mapped every movement with precision and sensitivity, supposedly foolproof against anything hiding below. The aliens wanted to cut through the jungle's deception and find these elusive humans once and for all. Almost immediately, the new surveillance technology yielded results. Alien sentries reported seeing more movement through the trees, with fewer ambushes to counter. Every scan from the thermal drones revealed traces of heat in places that had been previously invisible to them. The alien forces pressed forward, temporarily managing to hold their ground in certain parts of the jungle, feeling as if they were finally pushing back the human attackers. The humans, previously untouchable, were now just barely within reach. But if the aliens' adaptation felt like progress, it was only temporary. The special forces adapted just as quickly, analyzing the alien drones' patterns and responding with ingenuity and precision. Earth soldiers began using smoke grenades strategically, blanketing sections of the jungle with thick, blinding clouds of smoke that confused the drone's sensors and obscured their movements. Wherever the aliens relied on their high-tech surveillance, humans countered with smoke-filled shadows, moving with purpose and using minimal visibility to evade detection. The special forces also devised clever ways to distort the alien heat-tracking technology. They set small, controlled fires that created fluctuating heat zones, tricking drones into following phantom movements through the trees. Decoys, simple shapes built from jungle debris and warmed with small portable heaters or burning sticks, drew alien attention away from the real human operatives. In the chaos of multiple heat signals, it became impossible to distinguish real human soldiers from these heat-mimicking decoys. The human fighters blended back into the jungle, vanishing with ease while the alien drones zoomed after false leads. Increasingly frustrated, the alien commanders doubled down on their countermeasures, deploying robotic sentries programmed with high-frequency scanners. These machines emitted a soft hum as they floated through the jungle, emitting waves that pulsed through the thick foliage. If even a branch or leaf moved, these sentries would detect it. At first, the alien forces felt renewed confidence, watching the sentries move methodically, ensuring there were no hiding places left. But the humans once again adapted, their ingenuity proving more powerful than the alien technology. Earth's special forces started moving in ways that masked their presence, using the dense environment to their advantage. They created diversions to confuse the high-frequency sensors. They set up rudimentary contraptions of vines and branches, so that whenever the aliens approached, these devices made faint but deliberate sounds in nearby areas. These fake signals echoed through the jungle, distracting the robotic sentries and leading the alien soldiers further away from the real locations of the special forces. The humans understood not just how to avoid the technology, but how to weaponize the jungle's natural sounds and movements to confuse and mislead the machines that alien forces trusted so deeply. Each attempt by the aliens to adapt was met with an equally innovative human counter. Alien soldiers found themselves exhausted, caught in an unending series of traps that defied the structured, straightforward warfare they had trained for. Morale in the alien ranks continued to drop as human operatives showed an uncanny ability to outmaneuver each new tactic. Alien generals, accustomed to the clean efficiency of high-tech warfare, now faced an unpredictable, relentless opponent who refused to be constrained by traditional strategy. The battles became fiercer as the alien forces desperately tried to regain control. In one skirmish, the aliens deployed their drones and sentries in a coordinated sweep, hoping to close off all possible escape routes. As the alien soldiers advanced, they seemed to have a clear advantage, with all their technology tracking movements in real time. But Earth's special forces anticipated this overextension, setting fires to create confusing layers of smoke and heat that disrupted the coordinated sweep. As the alien soldiers advanced blindly, the Special Forces team was ready, laying in ambush. Using bows crafted from local resources, knives, and the silent deadliness of close combat tactics, Earth's soldiers struck swiftly, catching their foes off guard in the thick smoke. They used the fire and the dense smoke as cover, appearing and disappearing within the haze. Aliens panicked, their sophisticated weapons proving useless at close range, where visibility was down to mere feet. Without their high-tech visual aids, the aliens could barely defend themselves, and the humans turned this to their advantage. In the face of increasing alien firepower, the Special Forces continued to prove that their adaptability was a weapon in itself. They took advantage of every alien misstep, every reliance on technology that, while formidable, was also fragile in the jungle's complexity. They moved through the dense brush with the precision of hunters, exploiting weaknesses in alien tactics that no amount of machinery could cover. The human operatives' patience and willingness to confront the aliens on their own terms, in smoke-filled, close-quarters combat, showed their sheer resolve and resilience. The jungle battles became a series of relentless engagements. Alien forces tried repeatedly to recalibrate, to adjust their tactics, but the Special Forces were always a step ahead. Where technology faltered, Earth's soldiers improvised. They used every natural resource available to them, from mud to mask their thermal signatures to quick-assembled traps made from sharp stones and vines, showing that sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective. In the end, the alien forces grew overwhelmed, their ranks decimated not by high-tech weapons, but by the humans' relentless persistence and their adaptability under pressure. The jungle itself became a symbol of human defiance, its dense layers and hidden threats an ally to those who could understand it, a nightmare for those who could not. Earth's Special Forces, with their honed survival skills and keen instincts, had once again turned the alien technology into a handicap rather than an asset, proving that, even in a galaxy dominated by technology, the human spirit and adaptability were unmatched. For every adjustment the aliens tried, the humans had a counter. For every drone and sentry deployed, there was a tactic to throw it off course. Earth's Special Forces, moving with tenacity and precision, had turned each setback into a victory, each obstacle into a stepping stone. And through their unbreakable resolve, they showed that human adaptability and resilience could outwit even the most advanced technology. The aliens had underestimated Earth's wilderness-based tactics and survival skills, but now, with every lost engagement, they began to grasp the true strength of the human spirit, unyielding, relentless, and impossible to conquer. The final confrontation came as the alien forces, battered and weary, made one last desperate push to break through the jungle. Their commanders had thrown everything they had into this last-ditch effort, hoping to overcome Earth's special forces with sheer numbers and overwhelming firepower. Alien troops advanced in tight formation, clutching their weapons with a newfound urgency and dread. Every soldier was alert, eyes wide, scanning the trees and the underbrush for any sign of movement. The sounds of distant jungle creatures filled the air, blending with the tense breathing and hurried footsteps of the alien battalion. Then came the first strike, swift and silent. Human soldiers, hidden beneath layers of foliage and mud, emerged with ruthless precision, using silenced firearms, handcrafted bows, and blades. Alien soldiers fell one by one, taken out with minimal noise, their panicked cries swallowed by the dense vegetation. As the ambush escalated, the remaining alien forces broke formation, scattering into small, disoriented groups, each fighting for survival rather than victory. Every alien soldier knew what lay behind the trees, but couldn't face it directly. The humans, the ghosts of the jungle, striking invisibly and without mercy. As the fighting raged, the aliens' discipline crumbled. Officers yelled orders that went unheard, and soldiers abandoned their equipment, sprinting blindly into the jungle, desperate to escape. Human soldiers tracked them with an unbreakable calm, moving from shadow to shadow, following the alien troops until they had nowhere left to run. The aliens, despite all their technology and training, were utterly broken. The jungle's darkness closed in on them, and with each step, it became clear that they had lost not just the battle, but the very will to fight. They no longer saw themselves as invaders, they were prey. When the last resistance collapsed, the few surviving alien soldiers stumbled backward in retreat, casting terrified glances over their shoulders, half expecting another ambush with every step. Their weapons hung loosely in their hands, now heavy and useless. Among them was the alien general, who had once sneered at Earth's primitive tactics, but now looked around in shock and awe. His forces had been decimated, not by overwhelming firepower, but by an enemy who had turned the jungle itself into an ally, transforming the environment into an unyielding stronghold. As the general's defeated troops stumbled past, he stood, unable to look away from the jungle that had swallowed his once mighty battalion. Slowly, the general took a breath, regaining a semblance of composure, though his pride had been torn apart. With a weary, solemn expression, he looked into the shadows of the jungle and spoke to the silent human soldiers hidden within. He acknowledged their prowess, admitting aloud that he had gravely underestimated their strength. "You have earned our respect," he said, his voice tinged with both bitterness and genuine admiration. "No technology, no army could defeat warriors like you, who merge so seamlessly with the wild. Today, we learned the true strength of Earth's wilderness and of Earth's people." The few alien officers who remained nodded, silently realizing the truth in their general's words. They hadn't just faced human soldiers, they had confronted Earth itself. The jungle had fought alongside the special forces, every tree and vine a weapon, every shadow a sanctuary for their invisible adversaries. The aliens had mocked Earth's primitive tactics, only to find that these skills were Earth's greatest strength, a strength rooted in adaptability, resilience, and an unparalleled connection to their environment. Galactic diplomats soon received word of the defeat, and whispers spread through the galaxy about the invincibility of Earth's special forces and their mastery of survival warfare. Despite themselves, diplomats and military strategists across alien civilizations began to show an unspoken respect for humanity, recognizing that Earth was not merely another planet to conquer, but a force that required caution and consideration. Where they had once seen Earth as backward, They now understood that it held a depth of skill that was unmatched, honed over centuries of survival in the harshest environments. Back on the jungle planet, the human soldiers received no fanfare. Quietly, they melted back into the jungle, leaving nothing behind but the silent message that Earth's forces had been here, and that they had won. No human banners or symbols marked their victory. They needed none. The jungle was testimony enough. Its untouched silence, a powerful reminder of the humans' skill and stealth. For the Special Forces, victory was simply another mission completed, and they disappeared into the wild as effortlessly as they had come, leaving the surviving aliens to ponder the mystery of these seemingly primitive, yet undefeatable warriors.